Hello everyone. Good evening. Salam alaikum. We'll wait for 1 minute, one more minute, and then we'll start. Okay. Yeah, people are joining. Anyway, we'll continue now. Again, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining today's event. Today's topic is about Azure DevOps first steps. We have a series of 4 series we planned on every Monday. Today is the first session, which is the Azure DevOps first steps. Yeah, to add, there are three more sessions which are planned on Azure DevOps in continuation with today's topic. There are, the event details are there in the Meetup Azure Tech group, where you can find each event detail. Let me show you that. This is our Azure Tech group, Azure Qatar. Here, if you go to the events in meetup.com, Azure Qatar, then you will find the events calendar. Even my colleague, the Osama, is planned uh, uh, the coming machine learning, the first steps in the coming Wednesday. He has also planned a series of events. If you go to the calendar, you will find the series of events in the calendar, which is planned in the May month. You can go there and you can, go to the event and select the event, and then let's say, for example, Azure machine learning, which is going to happen in the coming Wednesday. You go there. I think let me take another example: how to subscribe to an, how to register to an event. So if I see the, I'm going to the event, and you click it, then you see you just need to select the attend online. You will get all the event details. Yeah, coming to the today's session, and then here is the the upcoming sessions which we plan for the in the every Monday during the same time GMT. More details can be found on the meetup.azure.qatar.com. Azure Qatar. About me, myself, Mallikarjun Reddy Tunga. To make it short, you can call me Malik. I'm the cloud solution architect based out of here in Doha, Qatar. I have 13 plus years of experience, working with plus DevOps containers and across clouds. Here are the few certifications which have come. This is my, about me, a small bio about me. So moving on to today's agenda, we get to know what is Azure DevOps and what are its futures. Each and I try to put on, we'll discuss each and every item when it comes to extensions or a dashboard, what is a repo, even, the service connections and the permissions, and the agents, all these things we will be discussing it. And then we'll move on to the setup, how quick you can set up, your first Azure DevOps environment, and how quick you can, start deploying the using the Azure DevOps pipelines and start deploying the builds or releases to the Azure cloud. And then followed by it, then we'll have a Q&A. If you see on the meeting on the top right hand corner, there is a Q&A button. You can post the questions there. You can feel free to post the questions. So we'll address that, during the Q&A session. Yeah. Before we get to know about Azure DevOps, what is DevOps? DevOps is nothing but kind of a software development practice. Which promote the collaboration between the developers and ops teams. I say the different soils of one organization coming together, and delivering things. That is how the DevOps practice is into. And to deliver more faster and reliable faster delivery, we would say, rather I would say, as a developer, I tend to fail fast and then discover what have done wrong, and then I try to improve it, and then I deliver it. This is what is more, as a developer, I tend to develop things, try this, try that, and then as you fail, I mean, we will learn, and then we'll, we improve, and then we'll deliver. These are the DevOps will help you in, developing, the during the software development life cycle. So here, we have seen some software development methodologies. If you see the waterfall methodology, even agile, and then DevOps. There are other tools which I just mentioned here, before we go into Azure DevOps. What are other tools which we have, widely used in currently today's market, like a Jenkins or a Circle CI, Bamboo. These are the other CI tools which today we have in the market, I mean, which are being used in conjunction with the Azure DevOps. But here today, we are not going to differentiate what is, what Jenkins versus or Azure DevOps or Azure DevOps versus, Bamboo like that. But I just, to understand what is DevOps, and then we'll move on to Azure DevOps to see Azure DevOps. That's why I mentioned this slide. See, this is how all the CI/CD tools which are available currently in the market. Using these, we generally use the tools and techniques. DevOps is nothing but is a practice, and the how you are going to use, what tool you are going to use, and what is the technique you are going to place in the DevOps, cycle. That is the key factor here. I may use something else, it depends. And to deliver, always, if you see the continuous development, and as a coder, as a developer, I tend to have, take my code and then continuously develop my code and push it to the source repository. And as well, the tester, he can do the continuous testing. That is what the DevOps continuously keep testing all the features until he's, the test plans are succeeded. Likewise, I mean, the continuous deployment, continuous monitoring, these are all the DevOps life cycle in general. I mean, when we talk about, and now these are the tools and techniques which we use to during the DevOps life cycle. Now let's see what is the Azure DevOps. Yeah. So this is what it is. Azure DevOps, I say, Azure DevOps is categorized into two as a product by Microsoft, my Microsoft Azure offering. You have Azure DevOps services and you have Azure DevOps server. Azure DevOps services is nothing but a cloud offering, which is a cloud offering, and everything will be in the cloud, and it gives 99.9 SLA, and it is completely controlled and monitored by the Microsoft Teams across 24/7. And this is the cloud offering, Azure DevOps services. And these another offering is nothing but the Azure DevOps server, which we have, to 2020 and 2019 is also available here. On-premises offering, which is backed by the SQL backend. When as a developer or as an organization, when you will choose cloud offering or when you choose the on-premises offering. Let's say your intellectual property IP, the code, which is you cannot host on the cloud. During the when you want to make it private repository, you need to have your code, no, not in the cloud. So you can use the on-premises offering, and then you can deploy your Azure DevOps. There is no much differences there. Both offerings, provides the same, when compared. There is no difference. It's about how you want to deploy your Azure DevOps, either you on-prem or a cloud offering. Yeah, these are the two variants which are, basically this is formerly called as a TFS, Team Foundation Server. Now that has been turned into, the new Azure DevOps server. Maybe people, the developers are aware of this TFS. I mean, they're currently being used in the many organizations as a Team Foundation Server for the code and the other development jobs. Now, let's move on to the what Azure gives in. Azure DevOps is nothing but, it is not when you, let's say, I'm not differentiating, but if you talk about Jenkins, it gives only the CD pipeline. When it comes to Azure, I mean, DevOps, what is it? I mean, it gives a, holistic way of, the number of tools. If you see here, the boards, as I spoke in the previous slide, we use agile methodologies when it comes to agile project management, or scrum based agile project management. So that is where the Azure gives you the edge, to plan things in Azure boards. It is a kind of a tool so to track your work. You can assign, you can discuss things, you can create your bugs. You can create your product backlogs. Basically, this is how you are going to track your work progress. That is where the Azure DevOps, the first item is the boards. And that is where you do your planning. Then the repos, the second item, which is Azure DevOps repos. It's as I said, it is a cloud-based. If you are hosting the on-premises, it won't be. It is the on-premises offering. And when it comes to cloud-based repo, it is unlimited. There is no, it is an unlimited offering by Azure DevOps services. It is the easy way to collaborate and build the better code using the Azure DevOps. Your code will be on the in the cloud, and you can developers can work from anywhere. If he has a either using like a Eclipse or VSTS, any other the development IDEs. Now the coming to pipelines. Okay, what by the Azure pipelines is like any other Jenkins or any other pipeline which can perform at the CI CD. When it comes to CI, you can do your builds in the build pipeline. At the same time, Azure Pipelines gives you the release pipelines too, where you can have your release pipelines, and the release pipelines can be authorized by a pre-deployment and post-deployment, and you can have multiple stages in the releases, and you can have a release manager comes in between, and then he can authorize the deployment onto the, the production or whatever the environment. Azure Pipelines give is a, I would say is a the graphical way is wonderful. I mean, you would love it. I mean, when you start using it, uh, and the build pipelines, you can have a YAML pipeline. I think which is now the de facto. Most of the container platforms and other, the platforms YAML is being accepted globally. Azure pipelines also support YAML pipelines. You can have your pipelines created in YAML. Also the classic UI. We will see that in short. How really, I mean, the pipelines and what is it. And then we'll let's talk about the test plans and all. Let's focus this since we have a limited amount of time. And the artifactory, like any, if you want to save any of the your artifacts, build artifacts, Azure provides you then and there, the artifactory. In case of other than other DevOps tools, you have to use, the external what you call artifactories like Nexus or Sonar or JFactory, JFrog artifactory. When you are building your pipeline, you have to integrate your JFrog artifactory as a where you can store your artifacts. When it comes to Azure DevOps, you have a single pane of solution where you can store your all build artifacts and use it in the release pipelines. That is where I love this. You can plan your task, you can have your distributed code, you working with multiple developers, and you have your build pipelines, release pipelines. And if you want to have a testing, I mean, you can have your test plans created and test it, and then do the continuous testing. You can do that. And we have artifacts. Like let's say for the any packages, you are creating a Maven packages or a NuGet packages, and you can share with your team. That is the thing. You create it and you share with your team, and team can take the access those packages and start building it. That's the best part of the artifacts. So where this, if you see the DevOps about the cycle, all these items are fit in. When it comes to planning, the coding, build, test, the deployment. These are the, the major. These are the features of Azure DevOps, which has all these things. I mean, let's move on to the next slide. So a tip, I just want to show you, I mean, the workflow, how it, just in a real time how it happens. An engineer may get engineer may get a task from the Azure DevOps boards, and he goes to his IDE, VSTS, the IntelliJ or Eclipse, whatever, and then he does his coding, and then he does his build Azure DevOps build pipelines, and then he stores the artifacts, and then the release happens. Release happens to the cloud, Azure cloud. So this is the standard workflow. I mean, if you see where all these Azure features and Azure DevOps features, repos or pipelines, how this being placed during the DevOps workflow. Yeah, as I said, Azure Boards, the planning. Okay, we will not discuss much here. Um, when you see the Azure Boards, when you Azure Boards gives you to create a project in either Agile project or a Scrum project or CMMI project. What is the difference between these things when when you create your project? It is how you want to define your workflow states. When it comes to agile, if you see, workflow state can be closed, but when in the case of Scrum, the workflow state is done. So these are the differences. I mean, when it comes to product planning, when it comes to Scrum, it is a product backlog item. If you see the on the right hand side the screen, you have your epic, you'll have your feature, and then feature can have a number of product backlogs. Each backlog can have a task. Product backlog can have a task. Also, the task is triggered. The task has triggered a bug. You can do that. That is a configurable item. Even a bug can trigger a task, you know, that is also a configurable item. Let me show you the one of the example. If you see here, the shopping cart is an epic. If you see that and you are going to in the shopping cart, you are adding a feature. What is that? It is a purchase. Okay, what is doing as a user? I want to add items to my shopping cart. This is a product, user story which is being added there, and then you can see there are multiple tasks assigned to that, and you see a bug also has been created, which is created as a task, bug issue task. So these things, and you can see the status there. I mean, where it is active, closed, and resolved. These are the statuses, as I explained in the previous slide. When you select your Azure DevOps project, the workflow states been shown in whatever is mentioned in the table. What will show what is the problem. I have a dashboard which is created. We'll show you, I mean, what is a Scrum project and what is the Agile project for today's demo. Now, as I said, Azure Repos, I mean, it is nothing but any other repo. I mean, you can have your, code, and then you'll have your commits, and you see your, I mean, who has pushed it, and then you can have your Azure Repos branches, let's say the master branch or a development branch or a production branch. And then you can, by going and seeing the pull requests, I mean, who has done whatever the previous pull requests, who has created it and who has approved it, these are the things which are available in any kind of the Git compliant, Azure repos where your code resides on. As I spoken to about the pipelines, it is as I said, pipelines and then releases. We'll talk about today, and I will also see what is the releases and environments on the Azure pipelines. There is no limitation here. As I said, it's a CI/CD of any platform. You can have if you want to do an iOS build, you can do it. If you want to do an Android, you want to build a mobile, Android mobile or an iOS build, you can do it through Azure DevOps. There's no limitation. And you entire during the this entire workflow can be automated. I mean, there is no any man. As soon as you push the code into your Azure repos, you cannot trigger the auto build. Unless until it goes to production. Before production, you can put a release manager. Until the time you can complete, workflow can be automated. As soon as the code is pushed, the build is successful, and based on that, you can create a triggers, and then triggers will trigger the build pipelines and then the release pipelines. In the coming sessions, we will see, I mean, how this, workflow created. Yeah. See, let's go to the, this is the pipeline. Okay. As any other, the pipeline requires an agent. Agent is nothing but a computer to run your workload. Let's say as a developer, as a I'm having my VSTS, I'm running my local development. Same thing, the agent, what you will do, you will have an agent, and agent will run all your development workload. In this Azure DevOps, we have agents. We will see that agents are of two types. Microsoft provides the agents, built-in agents of various versions like Mac OS and Linux and then Windows. You can also host your self-hosted agent. If you want to do a customization, the agent can be customized. You can host it. And as shown in there is a agent pools where you can have a pool of agents. You can create a Linux pool or Windows pool or Mac OS pool, and you can have a pool created and you can have agents deployed. And if you see the agent status, right, I will show you. Let me explain here. I mean, if you see the Windows 2019 and the Windows 2019 agent 2, they are running. If you see the current status, they are running some builds, and the third agent is idle. And if you see the Ubuntu pool, the agent is offline. So in the Azure DevOps, you can check the statuses of your agents, what the build is running. And when it comes to parallel job, what is parallel job? When you have you're in the Azure DevOps organization and you have a project, you are running your pipeline and your colleague also is running a pipeline. So the number of parallel jobs your team can run, that is where the setting which is available in Azure DevOps, we will see that based on the number of parallel jobs only you can run at a time. If you have only one job, parallel job, you have to wait, your colleague has to wait until your pipeline completes your build. So that is why there is a concept called parallel jobs. You can define your parallel jobs, and we'll see that in how many parallel jobs we can have in the project is public or project is private. There is a configuration which we can see that. Yeah, I think we'll come back to this slide later. It's a little. Let's go to the demo. Meanwhile, if you have any questions, please feel free to post your questions. Yeah, and let me. Yeah. See, if you see here, I'm going here to start with. Let me see. We have. Okay, I will. Yeah, the questions are coming up. Let me. Yeah, there are questions, we'll answer them. So to proceed on to the setup, let's proceed on to the setup. So I'm into the Azure portal. So if you see, go to your Azure, I'm assuming here you have an Azure subscription, a valid subscription, right, in your organization. So you have logged into your organization account, and then now we are assuming here, and then going to the Azure portal, and then you see the Azure DevOps organizations. If you go here, you see your, your organization. See, this is my account, and this is my organizations which I have. Let's say we are assuming that we are just creating a new organization here for your account. See, when you create in your organization, there are regions. These are the regions where you can create your DevOps organization. And when it comes to when it comes to pricing, as I was saying, the pipelines, generally, when you start your Azure DevOps journey, it is it is free. You can start it for free. These are the costing available in Azure. I think the first 5 users are free. And it depends upon the region which you are selecting your organization. If you're selecting other than Europe or US, the price changes. So today, let's go ahead and create one demo organization here. Okay, demo Azure DevOps. I'm selecting. See, somebody has taken it. Demo. I'm selecting West Europe. Now the organization which we selected is being created in West Europe region. Once the organization is created, here you can change it, but there is a process to that. So now the demo Qatar organization has been created. You can see here. So I'm creating a project. Your organization can have a number of projects. I'm creating a project here. Now you have your project. So what is next? Now in this way, now how do I start? What is next now? So you go to your project. There is something called the service connections. Azure provides you the lot of service connections. I mean, other than Azure service connection, if you see the generic service connections which are available here. By the way, anybody can access this project and these wiki links. I've created a public project which I've shown in the the presentation. If you see here, you can go here the dev.azure.com Azure Qatar/DevOps. You can see the entire wiki there. Now also you can access it. Let's go back. As I was telling, I mean, what is a service connection? Service connection is nothing but, the Azure, in Azure, there is a service principal which we need to create, to authenticate when we are running the pipelines. So I'm just saying Azure Classic. Sorry, Azure Resource Manager. Click next, recommend, and you have to select your subscription. Okay. So it is authenticating now. Receive, yeah, I received it. So who can create, the service principal which is being created here today? I'm selecting my subscription and I'm saying the service connection name. Demo SVC01. And then you have to, I'm selecting this, granting access to all the pipelines which we are going to run, This is the service connection, Azure service connection, which we are creating today, and then we are giving a grant permission to all the pipelines. Who can create the service connection, of Azure service connection? If you're an admin of Azure Active Directory, you can create it, or if you're user application administrator, you can create the service principal, Azure service principal. Likewise, I was telling the service principals, let's say you want to have your code is deployed in Git, and you can have a service principal created. You can have a GitHub. I'll show that. If you say new service connection, you see the list of service connections which are available. So if you want to have your GitHub and you click next, and then you give your oath or whatever the personal access token which is created there, and then you add it. As you are providing, the creating a service connection while pulling the GitHub code, you need to mention the service connection. So that itself authenticates and it pulls the code into Azure DevOps. So service connections are more helpful. There are a wide variety of service connections which are available here. For today's demo, what we have created here, service connections. So created so far created a connection, and then now I just created an Yeah. So let's go to the project settings. I think it's taking time. Meanwhile, let me show you the other aspect. When it comes to your, when it comes to your organization, you can have multiple projects. See, if you see here, a project can consist of all these features which are there. I mean, if you don't want any of these, I mean, if you see here, here we don't have a test plans here in this project. Let's say you are not going to use your, you can go to your project settings and you can customize what is required for you. I have disabled here. If you don't want artifacts, remove artifacts, and you're not going to use any, boards. You want to just deploy your code and you want to use only pipelines. That's it. You can disable this, as a project administrator who can do. I mean, do this. I mean, there are when you create a project. I mean, these are the standard, groups which are created. As a project administrator, you can disable. I mean, the level of what is required. See, if you see here, if you go again back to the project. You see here we have only repos and pipelines. A project administrator can decide, I mean, if you decide the project and what the project consists of, you can enable it and you can disable it just in a click command of way. Now, what we did, we created, the DevOps, and we created a service connection. Service connection. Okay. So now, when you go to service connection here, give me a minute. Yeah. So if you see the service connection here, we have created a demo SVC1. And then now, as I was telling, the agent pools, you can have your pool added here. Let's say I'm creating agent pool. Let's say self-hosted. I'm creating a Ubuntu pool. You can create your agent pool. And then you can have your hosted agents here. So let's go to the what we did. We created organization and we created a project. Then I was discussing about the parallel jobs, in sequence, how many you can run for the, when you want to create a project, right? Let's go back again to the organization. If you say new project, you can create a project as a public project or a private project. And it depends, what is that? I was telling the parallel jobs. And in general, nobody, in general, will not be using any public projects. In case if you are using public projects, you can have self-hosted unlimited. But in case of private projects, you have a Microsoft hosted as of now. It is 0 if you want to change it, and you can go and change it. When you create a new project, you can decide while creating a project. And as I was telling, the boards, when you create your project, you can decide whether you're going to have an agile project, agile based project, or you want to have a scrum based project. You have to select it and say scrum project. Yeah, that's it. We are already, I think we are done with the project and we have a service connection. You can share the service connections. I mean, let's see what the service connection here. Sorry. First project. You have created a service connection and you want to share across the projects. You go here, security. project, and you go here, project permission. So we created the first project and we created a Scrum project just now, and I'm authorizing, I'm sharing we have created a service principal, which I'm sharing now with the other project. So the service connection is shared. If you go to the, the Scrum project and you see the service connection, you see it is shared. The service connection which is shared to the Scrum project too. Now, let's see the one by one when it comes to let me run through the Azure DevOps entirely. So these are the DevOps project which you can access now. I mean, which I created, as a public, you can access this while I'm at live. You can see the, there's a limited restriction which is available, but however, you can read all the entire project. So the Azure DevOps summary, I mean, you can have your wiki created here. You can have your dashboards, which this is the wiki. You can write anything you want. So I just put all the presentation details here, what I'm presenting now. And if you go to the dashboards, you can have the dashboard created. Wonderful dashboards you can create. And you can see even as soon as you log in and you go to your Teams view and what is it assigned to you. And if you see here, which are ongoing and the works assigned to you, I mean, it is showing to me. And what is the build overall health? Just ran one build and it is successful. And if you see the here, one of the public website, CI pipeline, it failed, during these, and then there is a success also. You see that. And how many is DevOps team is working for since how many days they are they're remaining in the during the sprint. You can have your beautiful dashboards created and single glance of give you about your project work status. So this is the dashboard. Now, yes, I was showing the wiki. You can create your wiki pages for your about your project. You can say, I mean, about your project. You can create your pages. You can create your images. You can have a tables. You can do a lot here in the DevOps wiki page. Now moving to the boards. This is what I was telling. Let's say go to the product backlog. You can see in this sprint, I mean, this sprint started, 25 to 10. In this sprint, I have 16 working days left over, and how many tasks I have? A product backlog, I have 7 items and 1 bug and 29 tasks to complete. In case if you, let's say, I want to move this item to the sprint 3, simple. You can move the item, the backlog, product backlog to sprint 3, which you are unable to complete since you already have a backlog in the sprint 2. So you are simply moving your the product backlog to the upcoming sprint, which is going to happen in 11th of next June. It is quite simple. To let's say you want to see the statuses. Items, boards. And you see here, if you want to here, you want to add a product backlog, you can here itself, you can add it. And let's say if you want to know more about it, you can click it and you will come to know what is it. Currently it is empty, where the demo purpose have created a few auto-generated. So this is the boards, for the teams to collaborate and work. As I told in the presentation, it differs when you create. Let's go back. When you create a Scrum project or an Agile project, it's all about how the presentation, the workflow states. As I told you, I mean, when an Agile workflow task is being said, it is being resolved or closed. But when it comes to Scrum, it is a committed or done. That is the difference. When you create the project creation, it will tell you what is the type of the project you are in. If you go to the DevOps project and project settings, in case if you want to check what is your project, and the process is project or process is Scrum. You have to be very cautious when you are creating a project, Scrum project. If you want to change from Scrum to Agile, there's a tedious process which you need to do. Please be cautious to select the process when you are creating your project. Okay, and now let's go back to the what do you call? We created an organization and we have a service connection, and then we talked about agents, right? So here, if you see, I'm in the project and go to your project settings, where you will have your agent pools. So I think I don't have anything here. If I go to the agent pool, you see the number of jobs which I ran, and you see the agents are shut down. This is the self-hosted agent which I created for myself. I go to my home and then I shut down my VM. That's why the agents are, the offline. So as soon as the VM comes up, agents will comes up. So now moving on to the pipelines. We have seen, we have seen Azure Boards, and we have seen. Let's go to Azure Repo. Is the code where your code resides on? You can have multiple repos here, and if you want to create, based on the master branch, you can create your new branch. Let's say stage. You can create your staging branch here. You can create your branch. Now the branch is there, and you can work on your staging branch, and then you can create a pull request and merge to the master branch. This is the Azure repos where your code resides on. If you want to create a the new repository based on a Git or a TFEC compliant. If you want to do a TFEC compliant project, you can select that. This is about the Azure repos. And when it comes to pipelines, as I was telling, I mean, the pipelines is nothing but CI pipelines. I think I have created a pipeline here. If you go to the pipeline demo pipeline which I created, let me show you. These are the pipeline looks in. I mean, each task, how much time it took. The entire stages. You will see that in the pipeline. Let's say if you want to know the detail of this pipeline, you can see this. I have built a .NET, .NET application which is running on the Azure App Service, which I am planned to demo that in the third session. So for this, these pipelines will help you. We will discuss in detail in the coming third session how to build a pipeline. If you see, if you want to know this pipeline, let's go here and then edit to see the pipeline, how it look like. This is the classic UI pipeline, the build pipeline which I created. See, these are the ones. So the one point which is pending, when it comes to the Azure pipelines and then agents, we have seen, and then we have to talk about these extensions. Okay, what is extension and what is a task and what is the task group? Extensions are nothing but you can integrate to your DevOps. Is a kind of a application where you want to run your task in the extension. Azure extension DevOps marketplace, you have numerous number of task extensions which are available, where you can let me browse to that. I already kept every information here. If you see the better. So when you go to your organization, there is extensions. So these are the extensions which I was talking about. let's say you want to during I was during the DevOps tools and techniques, you want to use a JFrog task. No JFrog. So I have in my organization, I have to, when you have an organization, you can install your extensions. If you go to the marketplace, you have a number of extensions which are available. You know, if you want to have it Excel task, you can have it. Uh, let's say, you want to run some Jenkins task. You can have, which is, go here. If you want to have in your organization to have a pipeline, which needs Jenkins. Sorry, I think I already have in the pipeline. I will show that you can have a number of extensions. What are these extensions? How these are helpful when you're running your pipeline, right? So let's go to the pipeline. So let's say you have a pipeline. I did the pipeline. Today in this demo, we are not creating any release pipelines. In upcoming sessions, we already planned it. I'm just showing, what is our pipeline, release pipelines or the build pipelines. Meanwhile, let's go to the agent pools. You see now the agents, my agents are now up and running, ready to run any job. Quickly, let's yeah. This was I'm talking about the task, the pipeline task. This is a pipeline consists of stages. A pipeline, each stage can consist of number of individual tasks. If you go here, if you want to add any other task, let's say you want to use .NET, or let's say you want to use the Node.js tool during the pipeline run, you want to install a Node.js and you want to run your pipelines, you can just click and add and and configure your the Node.js installation. You can move your task to the, let's say this is your prerequisite to run all this, assuming that these tasks need a prerequisite of a Node.js need to be installed. You can mention your version here, and on the agent this will be installed, and the next series of tasks will be executed. These are the release pipeline or a build pipeline task will be executed. So the Azure DevOps Marketplace provides the a number of the browser the Azure DevOps extensions which you can be installed on your organization and that can be used in your pipelines. In the presentation, these are the Azure DevOps extensions. When it comes to task, in the task group, you can have your task can be grouped together so that it is reusable. Let's say if this is going to be your standard and you want multiple developers to use your task group, you can create a task groups here. I think in this example, I didn't create any task groups, but in the next session, I will show you how to create a task groups and you utilize them. You can have a task groups, and I think, yeah, that is where we are. I mean, we have seen the pipelines, releases, and any artifacts that is showed. I mean, let's say in this pipeline, we have another 5 minutes. Let's quickly go to the Q&A. See, I'm publishing my, if you go to the pipeline, publish. Anyways, the artifacts will be published during the pipeline. Since we are running out of time, let's answer let's take the Q&A. Yeah, where is it? What is the? Yeah, where is it? Let me publish other questions. I have questions here. So let's go to the Q&A. See the first question, can we change the workflows in between the project? Yes, you can change the workflows in the project. Yeah, it is doable. Pipeline workflows. It is configurable. And shall we have DevOps for auto software installation configuration? Yes, you can do that. Can migrate project from Scrum to Agile? Yes. Yeah. Let's say you created your project, Agile project, and you want you are almost there. I mean, then you want to migrate to Scrum. You decided, no, no, this is not the way. I mean, I want to change my project to Scrum process. Yes, you can do that. Answer is yes, but it's a little tedious process, and you have to follow the step-by-step process. They will documented documentation is available in the Azure documentation. You can follow that. It is doable. And then I answered Satish. What is the advantage of DevOps compared to deployment what is the advantage of DevOps compared to deployment automation? Yeah, we'll come to that. Can migrate project from Scrum to Agile? We answered that. Then shall we? Yeah, change the workflow in between. Yes, DevOps. Yes, installation configuration. Yes, we need an agent pool. Please describe a little. Yeah, see, Azure provides an agent pool, by default, Azure agent pool comes with a set of installations in case if you, let's say, when you are running your pipeline, you want your pipeline requires, the Gradle to be there, Gradle to be present in your pipeline. So Azure agent has, a set of other tools already pre-installed on the Azure DevOps pipeline. In case if you want, you can use your, like I added the Node.js task, you can add a Gradle task and install it. You can do that. But agent pools are required to run your, the build and, workloads, it's like a compute, to run your, you want to do your build, you require a compute to run your build, right? So that is where the agent comes into picture. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, to start Azure DevOps journey, I mean, do we need to have any developer experience in coding? No, it's very quick and easy to start. I mean, in the coming sessions, you will learn that. I mean, not necessarily to be a developer to start using the Azure DevOps. When you want to start coding things, write coding and all that is a developer task. But as an administrator or the Azure DevOps SRE, if you want to use the Azure DevOps, yes, the developer experience is not mandatory. Yeah, is a test plans mandatory wherever we create the pipeline? No, no. In this, and if you see my pipeline, which is currently here, it doesn't have any test case. It is not mandatory. In case if you want to incorporate in any of the, you see the release pipeline. Let's say I'm going to one of the release. Sorry, I click on logs. If there are any test cases, you can see in the test cases, which is here in the pipeline. But in this case, I have not used any test cases. It is not mandatory. The application insights something will when even in the fourth session when it comes to AKS, we'll discuss that the application insights, which is related to the application insights is an offering which is widely available for see if you see no tests are available for this build. We'll discuss the Azure applications insights. Change the okay. Yes, yeah, we DevOps for auto software installation configuration. Yes, you can do that. Using Azure DevOps, you can do that. And then answered about agent pool. Can we change our flows? Yes, I answered. And then can we project? Yes, that is answered. Yeah. Workflow in between, you can be migrate project to Scrum to Agile. Yes, in the middle of ongoing. Yes, I answered that. Advantage of DevOps compared to DevOps automation. DevOps automation, it is the strategy what we decide. What is advantage of DevOps compared to DevOps deployment automation. It is how you want to decide, that is the, strategy which we are talking about here. It's how you can, even using Azure DevOps, you can automate your deployment. A single click, the code is pushed to your Azure DevOps. It goes entire, as shown in the, DevOps workflow. It goes entirely to production without any manual intervention. You can do that. In the, I think, coming sessions, definitely we'll see how to deploy the automation using this Azure DevOps workflows. Hope I made the session informative for you, and answered your questions in case if anything. And this session will be recorded and posted on the YouTube and here also. I hope you are able to access this URLs. I'll post the links of this video. Thank you for attending this session. Have a great day. And as I said, I mean, the coming Wednesday we have Azure Wednesdays, which is coming up. My colleague is running that session. This is Osama. The coming Wednesday, he is running his first session. The on Azure Machine Learning, we are also running a series of session on every Wednesday. Please go and subscribe to that events. Thank you.